Welcome to the channel, everyone. I'm Skratch. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I'm not sure how many of you guys actually had a chance to see the video that Plarium posted the other day on their official YouTube channel, but basically they were teasing a brand new free legendary champion coming in January. Something big is coming to Teleria. That's the title of the video, and I've heard a lot of speculation from a lot of you guys what this champion might be. So we're here to brainstorm some ideas. I do have some ideas of my own, guys, and let me know in the comments down below, what do you think this champion will be? Because I know a lot of you guys have all sorts of crazy ideas. Let's find out what this champion will be. So let's quickly have a quick look at the video, right? We're gonna watch this, and we're gonna watch it once without saying a thing. Then we're gonna try to handpick all the Easter eggs that we might find in here, you know. That night. New free legendary coming January 2024. Something big is coming to Teleria. Now, how I mentioned, I've heard a lot of speculations about what this champion could be, and let's quickly have a look just to kind of like give you my take on what sort of vibe I'm getting from here. So just seeing the background, right, is a massive cave, and I don't know if there at the back is just like a big stone, a big rock, or it's kind of like a statue that got knocked out. You have a group of people going in. You see a flame there on the left, and to me, it kind of like reminds me of a Lord of the Rings. Either if it's the Hobbit, where they're going to the mountain, the mountain full of riches, where Smog stays in there, and it's kind of like the greedy dragon protecting the treasure. Either if it's when Gandalf has his other fight with that big ancient demon. I kind of like forgot the name, Balgar or something like this. I can't really remember exactly how they were called, you know, and it kind of like gives me that sort of vibe. But at the same time, it kind of like doesn't give me that vibe. For whatever reason, it really gives me the vibe of Game of Thrones. I don't know why. So you see something much smaller than the pig that's coming to Teleria. Just picking that knight from there was kind of like a shadow, a moving shadow, right? We haven't really seen what exactly is there, because it was a pretty small character. I don't think that's the big thing coming. And then you see this massive flame and the sound, you know, coming from the very top. So that's kind of like, I'm not sure what to think. Now I've heard a lot of people saying, Skratch, this is Godzilla coming to Raid Shadow Legends, you know, and, you know, I couldn't remember 100% sure, but I kind of like had an idea. Godzilla doesn't spit fire, so I checked out the Godzilla powers. Godzilla fights with atomic breath, so Godzilla is off the list. Now, why do we think that this will have something to do with a big IP and Raid Shadow Legends? We know Raid Shadow Legends collaborated with massive names, right? We had Ninja, we had some big creators out there. We had Ronda Rousey. Now we have Xena, which is a collaboration with Paramount, right? Or whoever made the OG series. And I feel like from a business perspective, like to make a nice publicity stunt, it would be the perfect thing to do either Lord of the Rings, either Game of Thrones. So for example, Game of Thrones dragons, right? Kind of like give me that vibe of Dracarys, you know, and you see the dragons, the fire. These dragons were captive in a cage as well, if you guys remember. I'm not really gonna dive into videos and stuff like that, because most probably I'm gonna get a copyright strike, but I'm just kind of like pointing out what I think it might be. At the same time, I feel like, yeah, Game of Thrones was a massive IP, a massive success that kind of like captured a very wide audience. Young, elder, medium age, whatever, you know. And kind of like the average age for Raid Shadow Legends is in between 26 to 50, 60 plus years old. That's kind of like the average of the player base, you know. And I feel like with an IP like this, they will definitely kind of like capture the right audience. It will connect the right audience with Raid Shadow Legends. Now, I've seen quite a few Game of Thrones games out there, and they suck, okay? I haven't seen any good ones for mobile, at least. And probably collaborating with Game of Thrones will be a massive thing for Raid Shadow Legends. I'm not sure how expensive it will be. honestly, Game of Thrones kind of like calmed down, right? For the last few years, it's not kind of like in the peak, and probably it will be fairly cheap. The only thing is, how are you gonna bring in a dragon as a character? They're pretty big. We already have some lizardman characters in game which kind of look like dragons, So I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if we are seeing a big dragon as a character. They will probably have to make it much bigger on the screen because it's something big coming to Teleria. Now, big, it doesn't necessarily need to mean that it's big in size as a character. It might be just kind of like a metaphor. And I feel like Game of Thrones, it could potentially be something huge. Now, at the same time, we do have the Lords of the Rings, the Balrog, right? Balrog, that was the name, and I feel like this could potentially be another thing too. At the same time, it might be a demon spawn. I mean, this is an old ancient character, and it looks like a Mortu Macabre. It looks like our clan boss. And just thinking about it, it feels like Plarium definitely took a lot of art inspiration from here, And I wouldn't be surprised to see something like this in Raid Shadow Legends. Now, I personally think that a Lord of the Rings collaboration with Plarium will be very expensive. I feel like the Lord of the Rings IP is so freaking expensive and is so freaking big that I don't know if Raid Plarium is really willing to spend that much money. Like the Balrog looks pretty awesome, right? He's kind of like spits fire, right? He has that big whip, wings, is a big character, and if I remember it correctly, when they had a fight in this movie, we had all sort of like mini demons as well, which kind of like might explain what's happening with that Knight being just quickly taken by some beast like a shadow, So right here, I'm gonna play this just a little bit. Gandalf fighting him, and he's about to spit some fire in here. Probably the sound is very similar, like the wow, like in there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they will make a character like this. I feel like this could be a very, very nasty collaboration for Raid Shadow Legends, like 100%. But then at the same time, I feel like Game of Thrones too. They both capture the right audience that Raid wants to bring in into the game, basically, Same like Xena, it kind of like captured the OGs, Like I'm pretty young, 33 years old, and I'm very familiar with Xena. I feel like everybody who's kind of like in my sort of range as an age, it would be familiar with Xena, and probably all the rest of the people that are older than us will be very familiar with Xena and will be very familiar with Lord of the Rings, and hell, everybody will be very familiar with Game of Thrones. I really think that Game of Thrones, it would be a bit cheaper than Lord of the Rings, and I feel like in a way, Game of Thrones will capture a wider audience. Like I know so many people that watch Game of Thrones and they're like shitting on a Lord of the Rings, saying it's trash. Come on, how you watch one and you don't watch the other? Like I'm a big fan of both of them, but I kind of like don't get it. So I feel like Game of Thrones would pick in more people, but it's pretty hard to just bring in a massive dragon. Like we do have the Lizardman champions right here that look like some sort of dragons, but they're not that big, And yeah, like this is kind of like a dragon, not a bad dragon or anything like that, but a big bad dragon. Then you have Python, which again, something similar. And then when you're looking at the demon spawns and you're going to Mortu Macabre, like look, it's literally like seeing the character from Lord of the Rings. Instead of the whip, you have the hammer, and the fire is not straight in his mouth. But I feel like they definitely inspired a lot from there when they made this character, and including our clan boss too. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised if they would be doing some sort of collaboration with Lord of the Rings, just for the simple fact that they got so much inspiration from there, and I feel like they are valuing that so much. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. This is what I'm thinking. I think one or the other, or maybe it's none of them, and maybe we're just too crazy and we're just overhyping it too much. We had the Monkey King in game as well, which I don't think anyone owns the rights for the Monkey King, or I'm not 100% sure. So I would not be surprised if it would be something big like this. When they brought in the Monkey King, the Sun Wukong, they actually teased it a lot like this. And I feel like that's exactly what's happening right now, and it will be something big of these proportions. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Much love, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.